its wildlife and wild lands. Okay, so aspiration number one, like I have taken you through, is looking at a prosperous continent with the means and resources to drive its own development with sustainable and long-term stewardship of its resources. So what I've taken you through is emanating from the fact that we should have this stewardship of our own resources where we are going to achieve everything that I have laid down for you. All right. So still under aspiration number one, the continent looks forward to have African countries which will be amongst the best performers in global quality of life. This will be attained through strategies of inclusive growth, job creation, increasing agricultural production, and of course, investments in science, technology, research, and innovation, gender equality, youth empowerment, and the provision of basic services, including health, nutrition, education, shelter, water, and of course, sanitation. Aspiration number one still looks at the African continent being one which will have a collective GDP. I don't know how, we can still discuss to try and see if we can have a collective GDP which will be proportionate to Africa's share of the world's population and natural resource endowments. Of course, it is attainable if we have a selfless people, if we have the right education, if we have a mindset shift where we are patriotic and believe that we are one people. Right. Africa's agriculture is one which this agenda is really looking at as one which should be modern and productive, which will use science, technology, innovation, and indigenous knowledge. Indigenous knowledge is very, very important in this bracket. We cannot do away with indigenous knowledge. We have indigenous knowledge which has worked for Africa generations and generations, have actually have had a successful agriculture with reference to indigenous knowledge. So in this agenda, indigenous knowledge is still being embraced in the agriculture space. All right. So this far on aspiration number one. Any question, any contribution regards aspiration number one? It's quite long. We're still having a bit of stake to add to aspiration number one. So aspiration number one is looking at a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Any comments on aspiration number one? on our Agenda 2063. Okay, there's a hand from Lucas. You can go ahead.
Good evening, Doc.
Evening.
I think on the aspirations, I'll comment on the aspirations to do with economic activities, where there is an aspiration of a free trade uh, area or corridor, which has already been implemented by other Eastern African countries, like the way you had put it last time that Kenya has already waived off visas for all African countries who wish to conduct trade with Kenya. There is no need of a visa. Though the biggest challenge I foresee, which is going to lead us not to achieve this aspiration, is due to the alignment of the superpowers. Most of these African countries are aligned to the former colonial masters, of which they wouldn't really allow for Africa to unite in terms of doing trade within the borders. It would really be something that they are working on very much to ensure that we cannot have a free trade area corridor within Africa. Because if we can do that, we will definitely have big market instead of focusing or relying on a World Trade Organization or the EU for our natural resources. I submit, madam.
I'm sorry, today my network is not doing very fine. Kelvin, you can come in.
Good evening, Doc.
Evening.
I was jotting some points whilst you were explaining on the African Agenda 63. Uh, if my notes guides me well, you said the aspiration focuses on the agriculture, education, and of course, coupled with transformation mindset shift. Now, I think, Madam, before I can go further, I think little or nothing has been achieved by the people who pioneered, who championed these theories that you are talking about. For example, His Excellency, the former President of the Republic of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. Perhaps, maybe I, for one, have not researched much, such that is for the first time I'm hearing such theories that they have been there since 2013, as you guided last time. Okay. And then also, I want to hear from you when you say indigenous knowledge pertaining to agriculture. Has this really will it work, being that we are now encountering the climate change and the other things? Okay, I submit.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kelvin. So Kelvin is trying to find out that amid this climate change, Is our indigenous knowledge going to work? When I was growing up, I was able to learn that we had rainmakers in our villages when rain was not actually when rain was expected and not would not come on time. There would be some rainmaker who would go around some tree, dance for the rain, chant something, it would rain. Then we had no fertilizers, as it were, so they would use some sort of manure or some kind of systems to make the crop grow. We never had these chemical seeds to grow, but we still had some very good food crop, and of course different knowledge in terms of agriculture. You know, Chitemene was wrong because we are told when you overcut trees, you're actually destroying the rain pattern. And so I don't know, you can add to the menu of indigenous knowledge regards the agriculture space. But we have had a lot of indigenous knowledge in the agriculture space, how to plant, how to farm, how to just guard your crop. Of course, not using juju, you know, but I mean, it's indigenous knowledge. Others would guard it using juju, of course. But at one time, I visited my grandmother, and in trying to chase away birds from eating her millet, should make some kind of a human figure in the field, then tie some sort of red cloth around the farm, some certain color, just to scare away the birds to protect the crop. So I think that is knowledge in trying to preserve your crop, or to protect your crop until the time you harvest. There's this indigenous knowledge which we have always had, and of course in our agenda 2063, we are saying, can we bring it back, because it is not everything that is bad. So Kelvin is asking that, can the indigenous knowledge work in the agriculture space? Looking at what is happening now, this climate change, which has been orchestrated by the West, we have just been brought on board to help mitigate, but as it were, it is orchestrated by the West. The question is, can indigenous knowledge manage to survive in this white climate change? Lucas.
Thank you, madam. I think we just need to up our game as citizens and as a country at large, because when you look um, 20 years, 25 years ago, we had this seed, maize seed, this type is slowly diminishing in preference over these pharmaceutical seeds, which are being developed by Seedco and these other Western companies. There is this local maize seed, which we call kapiabwangu. I don't know if you have ever heard of that seed of kapiabwangu. It's quite drought
Yes, yes.
resistant. Drought resistant, and it doesn't really need a lot of rains for it to grow. But we have abandoned such kinds of maize seeds, and we have opted for the westernized maize seeds, which needs a lot of pest control medicines, which needs a lot of fertilizers. But those kapiawango kind of seeds, you don't need fertilizer, you don't need pest control medicines. It used to be something that you plant, in the next the 2 months without even proper rainfall, you have maize, people will eat. So if that knowledge can be integrated with a new knowledge, I think the indigenous knowledge on agriculture should be enhanced and collaborate with the new knowledge on agriculture. I think will be on a good path. I submit.
Thank you, Kelvin. I hope we are good to go. Are you okay with that response? Of course, what he's trying to put across is that if we can somehow try to blend the two, because it is you who are actually the frontiers of knowledge. You're acquiring education now, and your education should be put to good use. You know, knowledge is power. The Bible is very clear that for the lack of knowledge, my people shall perish. What you don't know shall surely kill you. So you have to make sure that you use the knowledge you acquire in this form of, in the form of systems to but we used to eradicate pests. So we just have to blend, and this blending now will be at another level, using the people who are educated to try and improve it. So that will be our own modern way, because it is that knowledge, but in another version, probably in packaging. So Kelvin, I don't know if we are on the same trajectory.
Oh, yes, we are. We are, madam. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other question from anybody? Kelvin, you can come in.
Maybe the only thing I can say, Doc and my fellow colleagues, is that maybe the Westerners have done more harm, uh, damage to the environment as well as the mindset of the Africans. Because when you look at even the poultry farming, I would say, you see, look at how they have overbred the chickens to a point where madam is rare now. Only that in those villages where they are still naive and a little bit of primitivity is there. That's where you're going to find maybe natural things. Okay, but the education that has gone is that we should suit the Western culture. Now it becomes a challenge again to shift back to the way African used to live. In as much as an emphasis is set on the African to go back to the its restitution or going back, renaissance, but a false gospel from the Western people has taken African into this oblivion that we cannot come back. I'm telling you, madam, it will take really time for us to suit. Yeah, in as much as you are going to say that we need to suit in, follow suit into the the indigenous knowledge, you find that the majority will go for what is trending. You hear the Chinese from Turkey, from this country, they are offering this. They are giving medicine that can actually kill insecticide in a shortest period of time. And somebody will prefer to go for that, unlike using the ashes that you talked about earlier, which of course is good, but the mind, as you always been emphasizing. Thank you. That's my take. I submit.
Thank you, Kelvin. Maybe I can just quickly react to your submission. Um, like you earlier mentioned, that the West have done more harm than good. It is true. That one cannot be overemphasized. Remember, there are issues of a capitalist economy here. And what does a capitalist economy call for? A capitalist economy will not give you a cure because they will not make money. So they will make something which will keep on calling you to buy what they're producing. They will give you seed, Kelvin, medicated seed, which will later produce armyworms so that you go back and buy the chemical to kill the armyworms. It's business. All right? So it is what it is. There's this circle in a capitalist economy. At the end of the day, what does it mean? People are looking out for profits. They want to maximize on profits. And if they make something which is very strong, that which will like provide a permanent solution, where will they get the money tomorrow? So they will always have to make something that will always call for the next thing. Like you get this, immediately it sprouts into something which is not working for you. You get another thing to cover it up. It's like you keep on covering a wound which is not healing inside. That's what it is. And so we have been given the most rubbish education to make us have some kind of brain damage, unfortunately. So it is not the education that is solving the challenges Africa want. So this is, of course, apparently in theory, but if we work together and, of course, try to have this mind shift, make sure that we have a decolonized education system which is anchored to innovation and creativity. Together we can. But there's this aspect of selfishness which keeps us asunder, which keeps us where we are today. So it is a dream which can be achieved only when and only if you and I have a mindset shift. If you and I receive the right education, that will be a solution to the challenges we are facing today. Kelvin, you talk about the problem of not bringing on board indigenous knowledge in the agriculture space because people will still want the white medicine. That is the same brain damage we are talking about. So others will be there's pulling and pushing. These are trying to bring this agenda on the market. Others are saying no, 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 no. Let's go the white way because the white person has preached that theirs is better than the African one. The African one is fetish. It is black. It is evil. So get to the white space. Here we are. What is happening to the crop? All that we are seeing in the fields are as a result of what the West has brought around the globe. It is what it is, and it is in black and white that it is a business. I've always given you an example of ARVs. Huh? These guys have made sure that there's no antidote for the virus, known to anybody. Why? Have you ever sat down to think as to why there isn't an antidote? Why there isn't a cure? Is it true it is not there? Is it true that over the years the scientists can't find it? Food for thought. This is a capitalist economy. People are trying to make money. Bill Gates should have started with these Microsoft issues. Today he's into pharmaceuticals. Have you ever asked yourself why Bill Gates has shifted to pharmaceutical? Have you asked yourself that question? Have you checked around to see why Zambia has that too much cholera? What has happened? We have had this debt for over the years. I mean, we have never been clean. When? This cholera today is too much. COVID is skyrocketing. What's happening? saw Chinese in the background in Lusaka Stadium bringing some boxes, doing that. Another person has donated this from there. No, they're selling this. Have you ever thought what the reasons are? We really have to watch, be very alert. We are sitting on a time bomb. The aspirations we have are very good. They sound very good. But personally, my worry is our togetherness. That is one thing we have to achieve first. And before I lose my thought, Kelvin mentioned of people getting to the modern space in terms of agriculture knowledge, and of course shun our own. That is something which is like a spell casted on all of us. We think everything white is better, everything black is evil. That can be translated in what we are seeing today. You know, women today would bleach their skin to the point that they start looking green. Why? They have a belief system that everything that is black is evil, everything that is white is good. So they believe that beauty is in the white skin, the dark skin is ugly. It is the same principle, same principle. All right. So what should we do then? Remember, from the African Renaissance, they are saying, can we work on the micro first? What is that? Smaller units, first the family. You guys, let's do this. Like I did in by our farm. I tried that. Then I told the next neighbor, can you try? She tried, I think she tried it on, what crop did she try it on? I never went to check, but she said, it looks like it's working. The other one came and said, no, 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 let's use the water to splash on the crop. She tried, and so we are sharing that knowledge in that small village of ours, and it looks like it's working out for us. So that is the micro unit, and if that works for the entire village, it might spell out into the macro level, a larger community. So that's how things start. But when you find people who receive a wrong kind of education system, they'll always think everything white is better than the black stuff. So that is one thing that we have to start flashing out of our system seriously. It is very detrimental to ourselves, where we are always thinking, okay, everything white is good, everything black is bad. That's why if we have that kind of reasoning, this agenda will be far-fetched. It is something which will have problems to achieve. So I think today we just deal with one aspiration. Then the next time we meet, we'll get to aspiration number 2. But conclusively, we can safely say aspiration number 1 is closing on the fact that we should have Africa shall have equitable and sustainable use and management of water resources for socio-economic development, regional cooperation, and the environment, as it were, because this aspiration is basically talking about a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. And we are very determined to eradicate poverty in one generation and build a shared prosperity through social and economic transformation of the continent. The key word is transformation. What will be transformed first? The mind. It's the minds of the people which have to be transformed first for them to tap into this agenda and actualize it. Without that, we can't. As long as we bring the Western policies on board, as long as we tap into the Western curriculum, this will soon be a white elephant. Ladies and gentlemen, we end with this tonight. Unless there are any other questions from anybody or contributions to this aspiration. Mr. Lucas.
Yes, madam. Do you think it is right for our government to side with either these superpowers in a view of attaining these aspirations? Because I believe for a country like Zambia to develop, or as a continent for us to develop, we need to look at the the world economic system. Which side should we side on? Should we be with? Do you think Zambia should take such a stance? I submit, madam.
Okay, thank you. Um, Taking a stance, if I got you very well, you're trying to look at goal number 17 and the Sustainable Development Goals. And goal number 17 is looking at partnerships. So when you see Zambia do that, they're actually kissing goal number 17, partnerships. So they're saying by 2030, we should have had that. Why? They are looking at the fact that no one should be left behind and we should work together. So they're looking at this teamwork. Like, can we work with Austria? Can we work with UK? Can we work with America? Can we work with China? Can we work with Turkey? Can we work with Russia? So can we go around making partnerships? Because where I am weak, you are strong. You are because I am. I am because you are. But still, for me, we still have to be very smart. Is it true that I am because the West is? And the West is because I am. That is where we have to be very smart. Because to a larger extent, those guys can put all these good terms to the table, but they're still getting to your birthright. What is your birthright? Your resource. All right. So for me, of course, we need other people because of probably some comparative advantages. But the comparative advantage should have an equilibrium. But where the scale weighs more on the other side, then we are not equals. There's a problem. But that has always been the case for Africa. Even with our own resource, copper, we have no voice to tag the price to the copper. Then where is the partnership? Because if I have to get into a business with you, Lucas, if we are to be equal partners, what do you understand by equal partners? What do you understand by partnership? I mean, I should bring to the table equal to what you bring to the table. So if I have this resource, you should bring the machinery, then together we stand. But if you want to get everything away from me, and you say because you have the machinery, you get my resource, you go and add value to it, bring it to me at a very expensive rate, that is very unfair. That is where Africa is failing to stand firm. Why? There's so many factors alluded to that. We have always been informed that we are beggars. We are at the end of the tail. So we should always dance to some sort of music when it is played. What it is now is like there's this masquerade dancing and there's a drama. The masquerade will only dance because the drama is beating the drums. Without the drama, the masquerade will have no music and there will be no dance. The case of Africa, as the drummers, were never respected. But the masquerade, who dances to our music, is uplifted. So there should come a time when the people who even come after us or amidst ourselves will stand firm and say, gentlemen, I mean, let's be equals. Let's bring this to the table and let's work this way. So that even this cake we have baked, we share it equally. That way, each party will walk away smiling. But what has happened? We have enriched the West at the expense of ourselves. Today, Britain has the largest gold reserve. They don't have a gold mine. Where did it come from? Oh, that is the unfairness which I see myself. That is my own analysis. So we need a people who stand firm and try to bring some revolution to the economic space of Africa and inform our Western brothers and sisters that, ladies and gentlemen, we have the resource. You have the machinery. Can we work together? We have the resource. You have the knowledge. Can we share? Those issues should be brought to the table. But unfortunately for Africa, the entitlement mentality has killed everything. The foreign aid we receive has conditionalities to it which collapse every space. So for me, Lucas, that partnership you see, as good as it may be, if it was at reaching some equilibrium equals, it was going to be okay. But there's a lot of unfairness on the table. I hope I've tried to explain a bit of it, Lucas.
Yes, madam, it's clear.
Mr. Zimba, we were almost closing, but your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Doc. Thank you for the opportunity. My interest is on micro level development. Yes, what do you think some of the strategies, rather sensitization programs that can be done, that has not been done to bring about in terms of the coordination between the learned and those who are not learned, to make us people understand and the importance of now you find that an artist is performing and looking at his schedule for 1 week or 1 month is making a lot of money, or she's making a lot of money, but that money is not taxed. We give an example of a teacher, a nurse.
Okay,
We give an
thank
example of
you
you,
very much,
lecturers.
Mr. Zimba,
You'd
for
find that
that
you are taxed.
submission.
But then
So, if
look
I've
at that
quoted you very
discrepancy and
clearly,
where is the
you
trouble?
have brought two
So in
issues
that
to the
regard,
table.
what is your
What is the
take on that
modus
one?
operandi on regards the dissemination of information to our people, be it educated or uneducated, regards development? So, in that regard, civic education is very, very paramount, and so we should have deliberate, can I say, programs or policies. We should have documents which are written in both local languages and, of course, the same foreign language, which is English in our case, so that people who are able to read and write are able to grasp it through the what do you call this media, where you have written documents, and those who can get to electronic media, they can access it. In the past, I used to see people go around, I think that's the local government, going around with what is called a loudspeaker, even by the markets, to educate people on various issues. I mean, that's civic education. People should be informed. But as it were, in our case, we are seasonal. We are a people who are very reactive and not proactive. Until people start dying of cholera, should you start talking about use chlorine, wash your hands, cover your face, sleep in a mosquito net, do that, don't go to the market. Don't. What has happened? We need this kind of information to be in every house. Like they should talk about it every day. This hygiene, for example, should be something which we practice every day, not only during rain season. People should know this is not only for rain season. Can you try to be clean so that maybe, if at all, this cholera is 100% dirty, can we clean? Of course, it's contributing, and this is what we are told it is as a result of date. So we should have people practice this cleanness like every day. Let it be a national anthem. Can we be a clean people like every day? And of course, through the media, through the markets, in loudspeakers, in church, people should be informed every time. We used to have those monthly cleaning. Of late, I've not seen them. Yeah, people like just shelved it. Okay, cholera has gone, so let's forget it has come back. They don't even have energy to clean because I mean, there are fears of cholera. How do they clean? Every time it is raining, there are mangoes everywhere, there are these. So even the cleaning has become not the focus, but picking dead bodies. So we shouldn't be a kind of a reactive society. We should be proactive, and the information should be disseminated like every day. It should be put in the curriculum so that what children get should the knowledge they acquire from childhood will never depart from them as they grow. So that is one operandi which can be used to make sure that we develop. Because I mean, we need a healthy people for us to create wealth. If people are sick, if people have diarrhea throughout like that, they're vomiting, 3 hours later, people have died. How can we develop? We can't. This time, even development is a problem. People are not focusing on development, but they are so scared of cholera. You find people have made their maids stop coming for work. They've bought chlorine every time you do. People are just scared. So we live in fear? The answer is no. So how should we do away with that fear? We need information flow every time. There shouldn't be a break in the information flow. So that is one side on what method to use to inform people, educated and non-educated, on how we develop. So I've used Corella as an analog. Number two, you mentioned about the industry of music making too much money untaxed, the likes of Yo Maps and his colleagues. Of course, I heard that some time back. For me, it is still an assumption because it is not a proven fact to myself. But as it were, if these guys are not taxed, why shouldn't they be taxed? Why shouldn't they be taxed? Why should the government sit, fold their hands when those guys are making too much money and they're evading tax? That is lawlessness. And of course, they're demeaning the powers that the revenue collector has. And they have just let them be anyway. Well, we have laws put in place, but they are weak, not adhered to. Who is punishing who here? So that has to be looked into by the government, of course. If at all these guys are not paying tax, I mean, the government should rise to the occasion and make sure that those guys are taxed. They should contribute to the financial bracket or basket of the government so that they can solve the challenges that we have. I hope we're good to go. We closed at 2017 and this is already 2033. Mr. Zimba, I hope that one will help a little bit.
Oh yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so good night. We'll meet next week. Thank you for being here.
Good night. Thank you, Doc.